Desperation and anger are more evident on the faces of many Kenyans and worry about food insecurity as a result of invasion of the country by the desert locust. As a journalist, my work is to provide verified information. I went out to the street, the suburb of Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, to find out information. People are affected by this, even if they are not having farms in the city. As the locusts continue to ravage several parts of the country, the research shows that arid and semi-arid areas are highly affected. The Ministry of Agriculture states that 75% of the country is at risk. With that in mind, what does it mean to the food basket of the country and the economy?
Cast invasion to food security in our nation. Just to name a few, household food is going to be affected because these insects, they have really destroyed maize, they've destroyed beans, they've destroyed sorghum, millet, all over the country. These insects are all over. So if the government is not careful, by next year, because what the farmer will harvest will not be enough. So if the government is not taking a lot of care, then I'm seeing drought next year.
One swarm is said to contain between 40 to 60 million locusts.
Yeah.
And a 40 million swarm can eat what 35,000 people can eat in a day.
Yes.
So that actually shows that we actually need to pay attention to this.
Headed to Westlands, Nairobi, I meet Dr. Daisy Awuor, who is an economist. I would want her to explain to me how this affects the economy of the country. Because one thing I know for sure, whether negative or positive, the economy must be affected.
I think one of the most negative occurrences that has affected our economy so far, a majority of people in our country depend on agriculture. Agriculture contributes 26% of the overall gross domestic product of the country, and further 27% when linked with other sectors such as the industrial sector. So it will cripple the economy because more than 70% of the rural population, which is the population that was most affected by the locust, is employed through agriculture. And so the government should give subsidies to the local farmers who've been affected by the locust invasion, especially those that are not able to raise the capital to refarm again in the new season, so that that will ensure food production and food security, and that will secure our economy from inflation.
So it is very clear that the locust invasion to the country leads to high poverty level, high mortality rate, poor health system because of the pesticides that are being used. And now the big question remains to be, what should the government do?
We have used 5 aircrafts, including some from the military, to spray the locusts.
What the government should do to eradicate this locust invasion, number one is to fight the locusts. That is the first thing that they should do. These are very small insects, and it's like they're not unable to fight it. So they should put mechanisms of making sure that this locust is dead. This locust is not in our farms.
Agriculture remains the backbone of our economy due to the fact that it employs 40% of our population. And the government should therefore take more steps to mitigate the effects of the locust invasion. And currently the government, in association or in coordination with FAO, is doing aerial spraying for the farms that have been invaded by locusts, which I think is a good measure. I only think that the government should use more biochemicals in the spray so that in the process they do not kill the living organisms that are also essential for crops.
Hizo nzige vile siko ni sayelo, hizo yellow color inamaanisha ni nzige wazee, zimezeeka karibu sikufe.
Uhuru must take the leadership well and make sure that the Minister of Agriculture is headed well. Previously, we had Kyunjuri, who was fighting Locust with just proverbs. The other guy who is brought, who is Munya, is not serious at all. He's telling us so many funny stories without even consulting entomologists.
The government should also give farmers subsidies, because most of the farmers have been affected and they have lacked capital that they can use to replant again and go through the season again. So I think if the government would consider through the local chiefs to give the farmers, especially large-scale farmers, those who do it for commercial purposes, to give them subsidies that can give them capital so that they can use it to plant for another season yet again.
The Bible called them the plagues, and today we call them natural disaster. They are one and the same thing if you check, and religion has a different version of the story. The staunch followers of Prophet Dr. David Owuor believes that this is from God. This is a punishment from God to the nation.
Jehovah has spoken with me. Jehovah Elohim. Jehovah has shofet. The Lord, the righteous judge, He has spoken with me again about the tremendous, unbearable judgment that is coming to Kenya. I see this time around, He has released a lot of locusts. I've never seen such on the soil and all the way up into the sky, probably 1 kilometer up into the sky. It is dense, they are knocking each other. It's thick locusts all over the land. I see a lot of locusts that have covered the entire land, and also all the way up, almost 1 kilometer up, and they are knocking each other. It's too thick, you can't walk through them. And then I try to close the door, the Kenyan door, that the locusts may not enter, but a lot of locusts entered into Kenya, and they smashed the land, they ate up the land, they crushed the land. I see a tremendous judgment of the Lord hit this land. Repent. Repent in Christ Jesus. Repent, Kenya. Repent and turn away from wickedness. Remember, between you and the Lord Jehovah, you have to bow down and worship the Lord. The Lord cannot worship Kenya. He is the Lord.